For a moment, think about a bank. What comes to mind? Checking accounts, savings accounts, CDs, maybe loans and mortgages. So what does a company like that do to reinvigorate its product line? Well, PNC decided to give it a try, and Todd Barnhart is back with us. He's Senior Vice President of Business Banking with PNC, and welcome. Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah, this is kind of a real review of the kind of products you offer as a bank.
Certainly. I mean, I think in your introduction you hit on it. The basics of a bank, really, the checking account and savings accounts and the core products, if you will, that the average consumer uses to pay their bills and make their mortgage payment and just generally keep track of how their budget's performing every month is really what is at the heart of our business and what we took on with this initiative.
But how do you change all that? It's all tried and true. You've been doing it for a century or more, right?
You know, it's interesting, and that's certainly one of the challenges you go into is people are stuck in their ways, for lack of a better way to say it. But when we really started looking at the way our customers were behaving and changing, and particularly the easiest thing to point to is technology. And we think about online and the way customers even shop for banking services. It used to be you'd go into your local branch. Today, more than half tend to shop online first and maybe even purchase online. So the trends that we see throughout the economy certainly play a role not only in how consumers are shopping for banking services, but also how they're using them. Smartphones, iPhones, iPads, all those things are really finding their way into our industry just like every other.
I thought that was all just the Gen X's, Gen Yers and stuff. You got this core baby boomers that are doing it like we always did. Not true?
You know, not true, and certainly changing pretty rapidly. And the statistics would say about 40% of our customer base will be banking mobily on their phone in some way by next year.
By next year?
By next year. And so certainly it cuts across, and to your point, Gen X, Gen Y certainly have a higher propensity for that type of activity, but even the boomers are starting to adopt it and use it in their everyday financial lives.
Well, I know you made the inroads to the younger group with that virtual wallet.
Correct.
That's got to be a couple of years ago now. That seems to be everywhere, but you're finding those kinds of products are taking hold with the older demographics too. Even
though we launched that specifically at that Gen Y and sort of college student demographic, and it's been very successful there, anywhere between 20 and 25% of our new accounts inside a virtual wallet are actually Gen X and Boomer.
That's amazing.
So they're really starting to speak to, hey, we want this as well. It's not just for the kids, it's for us. Or one of the interesting pieces of feedback we got was, well, my kids have all this cool stuff. Why can't I?
Oh,
and so that was a huge motivation for us to look at how we change this going forward.
You know, for a lot of businesses, you know, thinking about their own product lines and how they reinvigorate them, I mean, how'd you really go about this process of listening better to your customers and figuring this out?
Yeah, certainly. I mentioned the technology change, and really I think our customers pulled us along based on their behavior and some of the things I just mentioned. But you know, really at the end of the day, banking is like any other consumer business. We're a retailer, and so you really have to listen to the voice of your customer. And so for us, we certainly see how they interact with us every day, but we really took a significant amount of time, well over a year, to really sit down and the typical focus groups and surveys and research, but even so far as to actually going into consumers' homes and sitting down with them and really studying the way, not just what they say they do, but allowing us to actually watch what they do over a period of time, which really helps you understand what the customer actually expects and looks for in your service. So really trying to understand that voice of the customer in virtually every way we could is what we really wanted to make sure we covered off. And to your point, changes in the banking industry don't happen very often. So we wanted to be very thoughtful about what we did to really impact a way that impacts every aspect of our customers' lives, their finances.
Yeah, for sure. We might talk a little bit about the virtual wallet, which has had a lot of visibility. Any other particular product that you really reinvented as a part of this process?
Well, you know, one of the areas that we really took a hard look at was the credit card space and how consumers today, for a variety of reasons, tend to use credit cards, not just as a lending vehicle or a way to use credit, but it really is a way they spend every day. And what we found, two ways that were important to them is, one, it's not just some other product they use, it's something they use every day and sort of how they spend. And so it needed to be integrated with the way a checking account works and other banking products work. So that was the first piece. And then, like so many other areas of our lives, people like rewards, and they want to earn that on the activity they do. So that was another area we took a hard look at, and really looked at how customers, either if they do use credit for just that, credit cards for credit, how they could help pay that down more quickly, versus those who might just want to get that cash back every month with the spending that they do normally.
Yeah, really fascinating. Only a few seconds left, but
sure.
I wonder, that you mentioned the credit card arena. A lot of changes underway there because of what's been happening, in the federal regulatory environment. Are we at the beginning of that process, or is there a lot more, or kind of at the end in terms of?
Well, I think the reality is I think we're at the beginning. Certainly the biggest piece of legislation around banking is the Dodd-Frank Act, which really doesn't even go into effect until mid-July.
Okay.
And at that point, then, we'll see how it plays out, frankly, over the next several years.
Yeah, so a lot more to come, lots to watch. Well, fascinating. Appreciate an update on how you begin to grapple with this kind of fast-changing environment. Todd Barnhart from PNC. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we'll be back in a minute with more of our region's business. Stay with us.